Hi, I am Don. This is Luke. Hi,
up?
hi, Luke. And you?
I'm Bo, actually.
Okay.
And we're here to talk about Warhammer 40K.
Yeah. Technically. We're going to talk about it, but we're doing this under the pretense of finishing that whole Three Houses thing we
Right,
started.
because literally everything you talk about in fiction, you're actually talking about Warhammer 40K.
Pretty much. We found this out, unfortunately, with Mega Man X and New Vegas, actually, because Mr. House is just the Emperor. But, yeah.
It's the monomyth.
It really is. The heroes meandering. Anyway, yeah, we talked about Three Houses. Last time mostly just kind of focused on part one, how things are a little different. We kind of neglected the Golden Deer. We'll try to rectify that here.
There's not that much different about the Golden
It's
Deer in
almost
part
exactly the same as the Blue Lions.
It's like-
just
Right.
from a different.
Like, you see
you're
the
not
blue-
in the middle of it.
Like the Blue Lions and the Eagles are all having their journeys, and the Golden Deer are looking at it happen. And it's like someone who is completely apolitical watching two other people have a fervent political debate, and like, guys, why are you so mad?
It's actually really not like that, because that's literally what it's like. That's Claude.
Yeah,
how Claude is
That's just
viewing
what
everything.
it is.
Why are you so mad?
I think the only mystery we're really left with out of the Golden Deer, out of part one, is the fact that House Regan didn't have an heir forever, and Claude just suddenly shows up.
Yes.
And that's
What
the
of-
mystery.
what
we go
of
in
it?
part two. So,
And why are you so much more handsome than everyone involved?
so
we
what
fell in the river.
we fell in
Yeah.
the river, and what we find out about Byleth in part one is Byleth doesn't have a heartbeat.
Yes.
Byleth has some connection to the goddess. We know for sure that Sothis is the goddess of
And
creation.
the Crest of
He
Flames.
has no emotions, but is kind of getting a little bit more as
Yeah.
we go along.
Starting to develop
starting
personality.
with Geralt.
Yeah.
Geralt dying seemed to have triggered something
Mm-hmm.
in Byleth. We also know that Byleth possesses the Crest of Flames, which was the crest that Nemesis had,
Yeah.
the man who paid for the Red Canyon, and also Edelgard was given through a horrific
Yes.
ceremony.
Right.
So
That was not consensual. You don't consent to having your a bone saw
Right.
have a crest implanted into you. But it is worth noting that Geralt did have a crest, but it was a major crest of Saros, a major crest of
major
Saros.
Crest of Saros, whereas
But-
Edelgard went through what she did because
Yeah.
she only had a minor crest
because
of
it was
Saros.
inherited. But just to note, we did not inherit the Crest of Flames from our father. We don't know much about our mother.
Right, we don't know anything about her mother.
We just know that
Other than Geralt's diary, which may not be 100% accurate,
Yeah.
or even written by Geralt, identified her as a nun.
Yes.
Or a knight. Was she another
I
knight
think
or a
I think none. She was.
I think it was
she
none.
was a
she
nun
worked at
that
the
lived at the monastery.
And we know that there's some connection to Rhea.
Yes.
Rhea has something to do with you, and Rhea was extremely happy to have you get your green hair. She was very much looking forward to you sitting on the throne, and she gets really pissed if you side with Edelgard and
Or
calls
say-
you another
Another failure.
So, I'll lead in with Blue Lions if that's
That's fine. At this point, Edelgard's doing her own thing. That's completely different from her own roots. So yeah.
So you wake up, and a villager, just a random villager, finds you, and he's like, "Hey, like the world's ruined. Like, everything sucks now.
I mean, there were bandits every week when
There's
I
bandits
showed up.
every week," and then you're like, "Wait a minute! It's been 5 years. You agreed with your students, I think, no matter what route, to meet at the monastery in 5 years."
Because it was the 1,000 year.
And it's my
anniversary.
favorite
Yeah.
dialogue option, because you're walking away and he says, "You can't go up there, it's dangerous." And my favorite dialogue option of the game, but my students.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my favorite. But and then he says, "There's something up there, man. People that go in there don't come out. Entire Imperial regiment walked in there, man, and they didn't come out. There's a ghost in there. There's a monster, a soulless monster bent only on revenge." And you're like, "Oh, Dimitri!" And you're like, "I can't wait to see him." And probably one of the coolest scenes in the game is there's an anime cutscene. Byleth's walking upstairs. He looks over, and there's a dead body leant against the wall in a really cool wolf's fur overcoat, a spear, an eye patch, and long, shaggy, unkempt blonde hair. And this dead body jerks and looks up at you and says, "So you've come to haunt me too. You won't leave me alone until I get revenge for you either, will you? Well, I guess that's just more people to kill. Who do I blame for your..." And then you reach out to him somehow, and he realizes it's you. And for a moment, he falters. He's like, "Someone survived." He's like, "Someone." But then, immediately, Like as soon as he catches himself being like, well, all right, he's immediately like, oh, well, there's bandits outside. We need to go kill them. And you're going to go kill these bandits. And you're like, okay, Dimitri, you go on the far end. I'll stay over on this end. We're going to make this work. And he's like, nope, just going to kill everybody. Just kill. So you get in trouble in this fight, and there's really no way out of it. You're just, it's set up to be failure. But little by little, your ex-students come pouring in. And I had recruited people from other houses, but I didn't notice them show up. So I think it's only your house that
Only
shows
your
up.
house, yeah.
It becomes a problem on maddening.
Annette shows up with Mercedes, and Annette's like, I'll help out. And Mercedes is like, I'm here. And then, Ingrid shows up. And the thing about the post-time skip, I had not seen any of the character models post-time skip. And the entire second part of the game, I'm just looking at everyone going, wow, everyone looks so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, Dimitri looks cool as fuck, first off. Like, that's just great. Like, his character model is just amazing.
We need more Bartholomew's from Xenogears.
Oh, dude.
The Pirate King.
Anyway, you fight it, and Gilbert shows up. And I had never recruited Gilbert, never really talked to him, didn't really care about him.
It's a unique thing, I think, for Blue Lion.
I found out he's Annette's dad.
Yes.
Is what I found out before this. And I'm just like, all right, that's cool, Gilbert. And so anyway, after the fight, Gilbert's like, Your Highness, we finally found you. And Dimitri's just like, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, I don't care. And so you're all back together, and it's like, oh, you came back like you promised, and everyone's happy to see you. And Felix is even like, hey, it's good to see you, Professor. And then he kind of just side eyes Dimitri, and Dimitri's just done having it. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. And so you're like, Dimitri, what happened? What happened, dude? And he's like, well, the immediately after what Edelgard did, she took control as emperor. And then Cornelia back in the kingdom, I can't remember if she killed the regent or
She sided with the Empire and started a rebellion.
she started a rebellion, and the rebellion won.
Yeah.
And they were putting Dimitri under arrest for the murder of the regent. That's right. They blamed him for the murder of the regent. And they put him under arrest, and he was going to be executed, and Dedue saved him. And this is when you find out that Dedue died saving
Dedue's the
Dimitri.
only person who doesn't show up for the
So
battle.
Dimitri's like, everyone I've ever loved, everyone that's loved me, except for the professor, but that gets in the way of who I want to be right now, so I'm just going to ignore that emotional response. Everyone has died, and I'm going to kill everyone in return. And Gilbert's like, yes, Your Majesty, it's great to have you back. You're the true King of Fargus. Everything's fine. So, you guys are like, so, you want to clean up the monastery? Yeah, let's clean up the monastery.
It's
And in
a
1
great
month,
spot. We can
in
do this.
1 month, you clean up this monastery.
There's an
It's perfect.
80s training montage. You got to work for a better future.
Live to win till you die.
The altar's still a pile of rubble, but that's okay.
You did a pretty good job other than that,
Yeah.
you know.
So the situation, Gilbert runs it down for you. The Empire is 100% behind Edelgard. Whatever lords were like, we don't want to do this, were brought to heel very quickly. And Edelgard is trying to build a new world order where commoner and noble live alike. And Gilbert's like, that hippie crap's not going to fly in my house. We're going to make sure people live in the dirt, and they're going to like it. So, in Fargus, there are still houses loyal to the true crown. But with Dimitri dead, because everyone believes he was executed, because Cornelia didn't let people know he escaped, they're faltering. You pretty much got Rodrigue, Felix's dad.
Gautier's still on their side too, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't. You're correct, but that doesn't play as heavily as Rodrigue.
for
Rodrigue
sure.
is a major house, and so then everyone's like, "Well, what's Rodrigue doing?" And Felix is like, "He's doing the best he can. There's almost nothing he can do." And the Alliance, while Claude, I believe, is de facto saying he sides with the Empire, but I think he's just keeping them at bay politically, and he's focused hardcore on uniting the Alliance to something. Whatever side they're going to pick, he just wants the Alliance united for some reason, and that's literally all we hear about the Alliance's plans in this route. So anyway, at this point, you have to make a choice, and this choice doesn't matter. You can you can say you want to go to a Firdiad and save the kingdom, or you can go to Enbar and end this all right now. And it's really interesting Because Dimitri's like, yeah, let's just go to Endbar, end it all right now. And Sedith is like, no, we have to save Lady Rhea. So we must go to Endbar. And then literally everyone else is like, Ferdiad makes more sense. We're going to
We
die
really need a base.
if we march to...
We need troops.
So it's really funny because if you pick Endbar, you don't win any points with Dimitri because you can't for the first 3 months of part 2. So if you pick Endbar, Dimitri's just like, okay, cool. That I mean, I'm the prince. I already said that.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But if you pick Ferdiad, he's like, oh, that's cool. I guess you don't care that Lady Rhea is being tortured. It's whatever. It's whatever. I liked Lady Rhea. Like it's one of the few times he actually uses like subterfuge and guile.
Yeah.
Like he's like, and I mean, it's very thinly veiled. Like, but it's still, he's like, yeah, like I guess you just don't care about I guess you just don't care about the church. A good Christian boy like me, a good Catholic. I want to go save Lady Rhea, and because and if Edelgard's in the way, which I will change my position if she's not, I'll kill her. So anyway, you no matter what you pick, Dimitri wins.
Yeah.
He convinces everyone you got to march on Endbar. And Dimitri wins by everyone's blind loyalty to Dimitri. This plays into... Everyone sees what's going on, and no one gives a fuck except for Felix and the professor.
Yep.
Annette's too scared to say anything. Mercedes has no personality. And it just sort of goes through like that. So anyway, you march for Endbar, but you do need to get some reinforcements. So you go to, the Canyon of Torment or something? The Cavern of Torment?
ILL.
Yeah.
ILL.
The wasteland that's all fiery.
Yeah.
You got to go get someone to help you out. And if you did Ingrid's paralogue in part 1, you already know about this.
Like, I'm sorry.
No, it's
like, Dorothea is like, hey, Ingrid, why are you so long in the face? Well, I've got a marriage proposal. Oh, I know that guy. He's no good for you, girl. Well, let's go check him out. Volcano Lair. I've got some reservations now. I'm sorry.
It's really weird because Dorothea does have this forced girlfriend relationship with Ingrid, and it's really awkward because it's literally like a girl, we're gonna get you a man. And Ingrid has, if you don't romance Ingrid, she has one of my favorite endings in video game characters, and I'll explain why when I get to it. But so you go to this place, a noble that doesn't like you shows up, and you kill him. He doesn't turn out to be all that important. It's not like Arendelle or anything. Yeah. But then Rodrigue shows up. And he's like, yeah, I can't wait to join you. Like, we're going to go get this, His Highness. And Dimitri's like, I just want to kill Edelgard. And Rodrigue's like, yep, it's going to be great when you sit on the throne. I just want to kill Edelgard. And Rodrigue and Felix have another face-to-face meeting. And it's very tense. It's very awkward. And Felix is flat out like, hey, my brother died and you never cared. Like, your king's crazy and you don't care.
It's not that he didn't care. It's that he said, oh, he died a great death.
He died. Rodrigue admits when you go back to the monastery after this, he says, when Glenn died, I said something terrible to, and it's funny because he's like, because you're kind of like, just take it back. Just say you're sad that Glenn died. And then Rodrigue's like, I can't because I'm dishonoring Glenn's memory by doing so. And this is a very interesting thing is the entire Blue Lions, it's about Dimitri finding this out, but it's about everyone finding this out. And it's like, fuck what you were born in. Like, you have to be your own person.
Right.
And that's what the whole thing's about. And Gilbert and Annette's story in the Blue Lions run is great. Like, because it's literally it's like, but you abandoned us. And it's like, no, you don't understand. I'm a piece of shit. Yeah. Like, and I know that. Like,
I couldn't protect the king. So the only thing I could do was get the hell out of here.
Right. And like, I was not fit to be your parent. And Annette's like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. But, so anyway, you have a couple, and basically all the Blue Lions missions is about rallying people to your cause. And at one point, you're like, we need to take this bridge that's in Alliance territory. Wait a minute, these houses are working with the Empire, and you show up, and you're fighting, and you're like, oh, this is great. And then this is the first time in the Blue Lions run that you see people that you didn't recruit from other houses.
Yeah.
And Ferdinand is one of the first ones, and I'm just like, oh, guess everything's okay. What what Edelgard did to your family. I guess you're just cool with that now. And Lorenz shows up because his family sided with the Empire.
Right.
And you kill them and you kill them. That's what you do. You murder these people. And after this is when everyone's like, wait a minute, these were our classmates. These were people we knew. But those were fairly easy. Like, that didn't bother me that
we
much.
didn't know them that well.
Yeah.
After you take control of the bridge, next month's mission, which, by the way, it's just, the monastery is just like it was before the fall. You have lunch, you have tea times. We're at war, but who gives a fuck?
You can get trained by your students now if they're better than you.
Certain, you were locked on certain
Supports. Yeah.
until now. You really get a feel for, and these characters have literally become adults. The game makes these different people. It's very cool to see. But the next month is the hardest if you haven't recruited that many people, because you go back to Gronder Field.
Yeah.
This time it's real.
The third time you've been there now.
And
or is it just the second?
It's the second. It's very different because this time it's not a mock battle. Everyone's going to lose. You're going to kill people that you loved, that you knew. So you show up and you get a little cutscene. It's not an anime cutscene, but it's neat because Edelgard's like, these were our former students. I regret what I have to do, but I have to do what I have to do. And Hubert's just like, I just think what you think. That's all there is to me. And then it goes to you. And you sort of sitting there and you're looking out on the field, and Dimitri comes forward, and Edelgard had ordered some of her mages to kill the guys behind Dimitri. Dimitri looks at him, looks back, and he's like, everyone dies. Everyone dies.
Kill every last one of them.
Yeah, he's like, everyone dies. And someone's like, Dimitri, we were just in school with these people. And he's like, if they're standing between me and Edelgard, they die. Then it goes to Claude. And Claude has a pretty interesting entrance to this, and that is a couple of his people die, and he looks back and he just sighs and he's like, well, guess this is going to be one great class reunion. Like, so you get into the battle, and the first person that most people are going to encounter to kill is Bernadetta. And that's sad.
No,
I don't like doing that at all. And when you kill Bernadetta, Edelgard sets off a trap on that hill, so I try to avoid her or kill her with range.
Yeah.
And Claude will not act until attacked upon or you're fully committed to Edelgard, just like at the original Battle of Gronder. But then Hilda shows up, and Hilda, he'll call in Hilda later, and Hilda's like, I'm not letting anything happen to my Claude. And you're like, wait, what? What?
Something happened in 5 years. He carried so many books for her.
So anyway, you finish this fight. Dimitri, I always send Dimitri after Edelgard, and he gets there and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, and Hubert spirits her away again. Even if you killed Hubert before, you can't kill Hubert and Edelgard. They're the only two that won't be dead. Claude won't be dead either, but Dimitri, because Dimitri's a ridiculous unit. He's absurd. I think you said, Luke, he's objectively the best unit in the game.
Yeah, he's the strongest in the game.
He's like, for half the game I couldn't take damage.
Yeah.
It's like when you get Sid in Final Fantasy Tactics, and you could just deploy Sid every fight and not have to worry about it. But he even went against Claude because I needed someone to kill Claude real quick, and Claude was like, Dimitri, like, dude, you need to stop. There's shit going. And Claude kind of has this moment where he's like, it's very like, hey, I get it, I'm the jokester, but like, dude, there's stuff in motion now that we've got to take care of. And Dimitri's just like, I'll kill you if you stand in my way. And he's like, fucking fine. Like, he's like, whatever, I tried. Anyway, you get through that, and I should mention, there's a battle where the Empire attacks the monastery right at the beginning of this run, and a general goes, he tells his little sister, don't worry, I'll be back. Don't worry. And Dimitri makes sure he doesn't come back. Dimitri's going to torture him, actually, and you kill the guy out of mercy. And his little sister saw that whole thing. A mysterious girl asks, after another battle before this one, if she can join the army. Rodriguez like, get this fucking kid out of here. He's like, this is a child, get it out of here. And Dimitri's like, let her do what she wants, I don't care if kids die, because I'm too cool to care if kids die.
She was like old enough to where she could be helpful, but not. She was kind of young.
Then he put his Emperor back on in his headphones and sat in darkness. But anyway, this girl comes up and she's laughing. She's like, it's finally my time for revenge. And she goes to stab Dimitri. And Rodrigue gets in the way and dies.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Rodrigue's dying, and oh fuck, I am so bad at this, guys. Dedue shows up at the bridge.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
If you did his paralogue, Dedue shows up at the bridge.
Hi guys.
Yeah, the biggest part of the whole run we forgot about.
Right, and I've been warning you guys about this the whole time. But anyway, Dedue shows up, and you think Dimitri's going to be better, but Dimitri, he just sort of looks at him, and a single moment of clarity, he says, Dedue, promise me something. Can you promise me something, buddy? And Dedue's like, yeah, no matter what, I will do it for you, Your Highness. And Dimitri's like, hey, if it ever comes between my life and yours, and you choose yours again, I'll fucking kill you myself. He's like, don't ever die. I have a thing about people dying because of me.
We should point out that the only reason Dedue survived is because in his paralogue, you saved the people of Duscur from the church.
And he gets a moment with these people from Duscur, and they're like, what are you, a man of Duscur, doing serving that kind? And he's like, because this is the only way this is going to end.
Yeah.
And these people of Duscur are what saved him when he got in trouble freeing Dimitri. So I'm just excited to talk about Dimitri. I'm sorry. He's a great fucking character. So I'm sorry I forgot about all that, guys. I won't be on any more podcasts. Adam will fire me. So anyway, Rodrigue dies. And there's this moment, and basically Dimitri's like, Rodrigue, you can't go. Like, you can't die. I can't lose another person. And Rodrigue's like, listen, man, like, your dad knew that you were going to be a better king than he ever was. Your dad knew you were the savior of Fodlan. Not just Fargus, but Fodlan. Your dad put everything on you, dude. And honestly, you're fucking it up. Like, he doesn't say that exactly, but he's like, you're
doing the wrong thing.
You're doing the wrong thing. But he ends it positive. You know, it's all good employee interactions. You know, you tell him what's wrong, but then you end on a positive. And Rodrigue's like, and listen, I know you still can, and Lambert would be damn proud to call you son. And he dies. And the first thing you want to know is Felix's reaction, but you don't get that. Basically, Dimitri's just like, is this just going to be the rest of my life? Like, people important to be dying? And the professor has this moment with Dimitri where he's like, hell yes! That's what life is, man. Like, maybe not as dramatically as what you've gone through, but yeah, part of survival is that other people are going to be left behind. And there's a really weird moment where, like, you can choose to reach out to him, and he takes your hand. He's like, has your hands always been this warm? And it's kind of interesting because no heartbeat would indicate you don't have body heat either. But in that moment, for whatever reason, you did.
You do have a pulse. That is in the journal, I think.
Yes.
There's no actual heart.
Like the doctor says, there's no heartbeat, but he has a pulse and he breathes. I don't know. I'm just a doctor.
That doctor started drinking. I mean, yeah. But anyway, Dimitri wakes up the next morning, and he comes up to you, and he's like, hey, what do I do? I'm good. Like, I'm good, but I've put these people through hell for the past few months, and I don't know what to do about that. And you're literally like, you're just going to have to go out there and deal with it. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just going to have to go out, apologize, and deal with it. So you do, and he goes out, and he says he's sorry. And Felix has an interesting reaction to this, and he's like, listen, I accept this apology, because if not, my brother and my dad died for nothing.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting, and it's the only non-cheesy way to get those two to reconcile. Yeah. Like, it's like, listen, if you're not King of Fargus, and if you're not the greatest King of Fargus,
then we lost them for nothing.
So, yeah, of course, I follow you. And everyone else is just like, I'm just so glad to have you back. And Gilbert's like, God, I'm glad my loyalty paid off. Like, this could have gone so much worse. And Dimitri agrees. Firdiad is the correct answer. So you go to Firdiad.
You just turn straight around after you're halfway there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's like, look, I was leading you to your dad's. Let's go. And you go to Firdiad, and you're fighting in Firdiad, and you finally get to Cornelia, and you kill Cornelia. And Dimitri's a different man now. He's like, listen, I want you to live. Just give up. And she's like, no. And she's like, oh, by the way, Dimitri, about the tragedy of Duscur. Your stepmom always said the only thing she ever wanted to do was see her daughter again. Mm-hmm. And Dimitri's like, I wonder what she was talking about. It's so odd. And then someone mentions, like, they mean she caused it so she could go home. They never found her body, dude. Right. And he's like, oh, it's that a woman of that station?
That couldn't possibly
she was
be
a
true.
Queen of Fargus. Sure, she only ever sat in a corner and watched out the window
I
and
knew
ignored
her
me.
personally. She could never do that.
Sure, she had all the telltale signs of separation anxiety, but the idea...
Have you met her brother?
Lord Arundel, a stand-up man! The one that would never throw Edelgard into a room where she's murdered along with her siblings. But and Rodrigue actually had a conversation with Gilbert where he's like, "Do you ever wonder about the queen?"
Yeah.
And Gilbert's like, "Yes, I wonder if she was in too much pain when she died." And he's like, "No. Like
she caused it.
Like we never found her body, and she always talked about wanting to see Edelgard again." And Gilbert's like, "No, you will not. You will
That's not possible,
mention that. She was the queen. I failed her. I cannot question her." So anyway, so at this point, you pretty much know that Edelgard's mother had something to do with the tragedy of Duscur. So anyway, Fierdiad's back. Dimitri has another moment. It's like, "I don't want to celebrate with everyone." And you have the 80s moment like, "You just got to feel the music, Dimitri." Like, drag him back in there. And then all eyes are on Imbar. It's time.
Well, Claude was kind of genius there and sent a messenger to
That's
arrive
right.
as soon as you took it back.
So as soon as you take it back, there's a message from Claude, and Dimitri's like, "I like this guy again. Let's see what he has to say." And he's like, "Oh, he needs assistance. Let's go." And you show up just in time because Claude is getting attacked by Lord Arundel. Lord Arundel's there. He's going to kill Claude. Why? Claude is leave. All he wants to do is leave. That's all he wants to do. Let's help Claude leave. Let's do it. I had a couple Pegasus nights. Super easy mission. Just drive over to them. But anyway,
Hilda shows she's a badass. They're holding that bridge.
Dude, and Hilda, you don't have control over her, but she's holding that bridge, and she's very adamant, like, "I will not let anything happen to Claude." And this is, honestly, that moment's why I want to do a Golden Deer run, because I was like, what happened to this woman? Arundel has a very interesting dialogue when you kill him in Blue Lions, in that he doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
And it's an act of refusal. It's not that he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
It's that, hey, I know everything. I know everything that happened, and you just killed your uncle for no reason because I'm not going to tell you shit. And so anyway, you get there, and Claude says, "Hey, I'm glad you showed up to help." And I love this moment because Dimitri's like, "You were a fool. Like, how did you know this?" And he's like, "I said, Teach is going to talk, and people are going to listen." Like, he literally just has that, I tell you what, always had trust in Teach. So Claude does something radical, and he gives the Alliance back to the kingdom. And then he hands over his artifact bow. It's his by right. So he hands it over, and he says, "I've got some things to take care of outside of Fodlan." And Dimitri kind of hints at, like, "Why would you want to go outside of Fodlan? Do you have some sort of anchor from your past?"
You're from Dagda, aren't you? You look just like Shamir.
So Claude leaves.
Yeah.
Claude leaves. You never see him again. And now Dimitri has 75% of Fodlan on his side. But it's still not enough, because the military might of the Adrestian Empire is outrageous. All roads lead to Imbar. Let's go. You're going. And you're imminently close to the capital. If I'm missing something, remind me. But you're imminently close to the capital. And Dimitri is like, "She is my sister. I need to reach out. Will you go with me to this little meeting and let me reach out to her one last time? Give her the chance." He's like, "I don't want revenge." He's like, I am king of Fargus. That's my destiny. I will not be held back by it. Like I said, the whole point to Blue Lions is finding your own destiny, living your life for who you want to be. Ingrid doesn't have to marry someone to save her dad's family. She needs to do what she wants to do. Mercedes needs to go out and find a personality. This sort of thing. So no, wait, back up a little bit. There's a fortress you got to take.
Yeah, the strongest fortress.
The strongest fortress in the world, and the Death Knight's guarding it. Mentioning Mercedes reminded me of this, because as you're marching up, the Death Knight's looking out, and it's like, he's here. I can't wait to and he has Mercedes with him. And if you're just doing a Blue Lions run, you're like, why does that matter? There's nothing special about this character at all.
Totally hot, bro.
She's really good at sewing. She's teaching Dimitri how to sew. I want to learn to sew. Anyway, you take the fortress, and everything's looking good.
Yeah.
The Empire doesn't have much of a chance. So anyway, you get there, and this is when Dimitri, he wants to meet Edelgard. Edelgard agrees to show up with Hubert, and you're there with the professor. And Dimitri's like, Edelgard, like, what are you doing? She's like, this is the only way people can live equally. And Dimitri's like, no, people just have to make their own destinies. Don't you understand? It's the invisible hand will work. Edelgard, you just gotta let it have a chance. And Edelgard is like, sorry, the only church that illuminates is one that burns. So it's time to do this.
Have you ever read Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court?
Yeah.
Do you remember that part where Twain has a little aside where he talks about the French Revolution and there being two terrors? There's the Revolutionary Terror that everyone talks about, and there's the terror of 1,000 years where all the kings just live in opulence and everyone says it's harmonious. It's harmonious.
Right.
And like, why did the revolution have to make all these people suffer? People were suffering always.
Right.
And that is Edelgard's position. Yes, I started a war. I started a terrible war. But before that, we had bandits on a weekly basis. There's constant insurrections.
You don't like the violence of war, but you don't care about the violence of poverty.
Basically, that's what her position is.
Whereas Dimitri's is like, hey, the system works. Edelgard, you just gotta give it a chance.
And I really love that part because basically that's exactly the quote. Like, how dare you initiate terror? How dare you support the terror we're not allowed to talk about?
Right. And that's basically the dialogue. And the most important thing in this scene, the most important part, is it becomes very clear that Edelgard's just that determined. And she's like, listen, like, I don't want to kill you, Dimitri. I don't really have anything, like, I enjoyed our time together. Like, I do love you. You are my brother. But you're just in the way. And Dimitri's like, I really don't. I know what I said before. But he's like, it's really important to me that I don't, because you're one of the few people left that I have. I need to make this peace. And she just flat out says no. And he says, you know what? And he pulls out the dagger and he says, cut your own path, Elle. And it's a very important moment, because in that moment she's like, yeah, I will. Like, it's Dimitri told her to do this, basically. I mean, that's not why she's doing it, but even Dimitri supported it.
Is that the first time she realized what the dagger made, or did she know the first?
I don't know. That might be some.
The thing is, she talks about her first real connection outside of her immediate family being a young noble from the kingdom. But the thing is, she went through a very traumatic experience immediately after leaving the kingdom, so she forgets it was Dimitri himself. So that's what she remembers.
But so in that moment, she's remembering.
Yeah,
and she's like, yeah, I will cut
that
my
was
own path.
you. And then there's like that scene of them as children learning to dance, and she has brown hair.
It's
a big hint.
So Dimitri gives the dagger back, and Dimitri knows that in giving the dagger back, he's telling her, go for it. If I can't stop you, then I hope. Basically, his thing is, if I can't stop you, I hope this is all worth it. That's basically his thing. If I can't stop you, then I hope you make a world that's worth it. You know what? He didn't work as hard for it as I did. He doesn't deserve to have it. So you go to Inbar, and there's a really annoying fight at the gates of Inbar where you got to go kill Hubert. It's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
He has Meteor, and he doesn't have Meteor in his actual spell list.
The Edelgard herself has an attack that basically can hit you anywhere on the map.
That's the chapter.
Oh, is that the one after that?
Okay.
Yep, that's the battle after. Right now, it's just Hubert. You got to get in the city. And you get to Hubert, and you kill Hubert, and Hubert's basically like, she's never going to give up. And Dimitri's like, yeah, I already had that talk with her. Like, it's good. Like, I understand. So then the next chapter immediately starts. It's the last chapter, and basically what it is someone comes up to Edelgard and like, hey, they've breached the palace walls. It's over. And Edelgard's like, leave with your life. It's over. It's over. I know it's over, but I have to stay here and try. And she's like, the pain I'm about to endure has nothing on what I have endured in my life, what countless people have endured in their lives. She turns herself into a demonic beast. And she's one hell of a demonic beast. She can attack you from anywhere. It's an annoying fight. You finally close in on her. And I think it's really cool because when Byleth gets near her and attacks, it's the only dialogue she has in that fight until that point. And it's when you draw your sword against me, I honestly wonder if I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
She's like, because you don't get any perspective in this run on why Edelgard regards you as so special. Because you don't have that personal connection to her that you do in the Edelgard run. But for some reason, she's like, she wanted you to be on her side. So I'm wondering if and I guess I'm about to find out if Edelgard knew exactly who you were the whole time.
She has more of an idea than most, but not as much as you eventually learn in church.
So, anyway, Edelgard dies. Well, the demonic beast dies. The demonic beast fades away, and there's an anime cutscene. You and Dimitri are walking up to her, and Dimitri holds out his hand, and he says, "Edelgard, it's over. It's done. Let me help you. You're going to die if no one helps you." And she takes the dagger out and stabs Dimitri in his shoulder. Mm-hmm. The dagger that Dimitri gave her. And it doesn't show Dimitri's face. It just shows his mouth. And he just lets her slump over and die. He pulls the dagger out, and he looks at the professor, and they walk out to an adoring crowd. And they're both very somber because it's actually shades of the boss from Metal Gear Solid 3. It's like, they weren't doing anything wrong. Like, even the wrong that they were doing made perfect sense for what was going to come out of it. Mm-hmm. Like, I was forced by fate to kill someone I loved. Mm-hmm. This sucks. But, except you don't get the cool Metal Gear Solid 3 scene where the president is like, you did it, Snake. We now confer upon you the title of Big Boss. And Snake goes, how dare you? Like, there's not the whole like you shove that title.
We crown you emperor. I'm a king.
But anyway, so it's really weird in the Kingdom Run because the whole time I want to rescue Lady Ray. I want to rescue Lady. There's a bit of of text that says you rescued Lady Rhea, but she was really tuckered out from all this, and she just stepped down as Pope, and no one ever saw her again.
Yep.
Like, none of the mystery is resolved. None of it.
The whole first half of the game is building up this like hidden group of people.
Who
trying
are those
to
mages that were always with the Empire but never with the Empire?
So it says that you become Pope. Or Archbishop. We keep saying Pope. It's Archbishop.
It's big.
But you crown Dimitri king, and he's the best goddamn king that ever lived. Like, you actually get a cool like mural of Dimitri at the end. But basically, and I like that the ending bothers to say like Dimitri created a kingdom where everyone had a chance. Not that everyone made it, but they had a chance. Like, and so Edelgard really wasn't that big a deal, was it? But and then you see everyone's individual endings. I think Sylvain's interesting because it's like Sylvain. It says that cheaters in the kingdom were known forever as sons of Gautier.
Yeah,
so maybe he enjoyed carousing a bit more than he let on. Ingrid's, I think, is fascinating because it describes her becoming the greatest knight the king had ever had. But it's very, if you don't romance her, the very last line of hers is she never took a husband.
Right.
Like, she would, like, not only did she not want to not marry for her family's salvation, she just didn't feel like having a husband.
I assume there's some way to get her and Sylvain to marry because they have like a definite relationship.
Yeah.
As far as I know, can you make other characters get into a relationship with each other?
Yeah.
You can,
it's
you
just
can do
awkward.
different
Like the game will depend. Like if you steal, like if two people are really highly ranked with each other and you choose to marry one of them, they will then be thrown back into the lottery.
Yeah, you can see on their pages they're like top 3 closest people, and that's like who
like
they
I got
could go
Felix
with.
and Bernie to marry.
Nice.
They actually made a good couple because Bernie knows that she can kick his ass. So
all these endings go around, and I actually chose just because before the final battle, you're at your dad's grave, and you can pick from a list of all the ladies you've romanced to that point to romance. And I was taken off guard because I saw Sothis on the list, and I was like, I just want to see that dialogue. So I picked Sothis, and her ending revealed something to me that shocked me. Because she's like, first off, it's a very awkward ending with Sothis.
Yeah.
It's like, you literally can't touch her.
Let me just
She's
put
not
this
there.
ring on my left
Right.
hand. It'll be like a stranger.
Yeah, you put the you put the ring on your left hand because she's like, just put the ring on your other hand. And she's like, we're not gonna. And it's really creepy because she's like, we're never gonna be apart from each other anyway.
Forever.
What? Right. And but it's really funny because she's like, I am always a part of you, but I am finally independent enough of you. In fact, that stone in your chest is just a lump of rock. And I'm like, what? like, what the hell?
What,
Like,
you didn't play the other routes first?
right, I know. Like, I'm like, what? Like, so.
Damn you, time
In
princess.
fact, when these two describe, this is the first time I'm going to know why there's a lump of. I don't know anything about. I don't know.
I'm up next. You're going to find out exactly why there's a stone in your chest.
I don't know who Sedith and Flane are. I don't know any of these
Oh,
answers.
you didn't go through
No.
those?
You didn't look at
Ooh.
their. You didn't recognize. You didn't realize that Flane's birthday is the same as Saint Seth Lane Day.
No, I'm going to find out. But I do know that Seth is actually Flame's dad. I do know that.
Yeah, okay.
They're not brother and sister. But anyway, so it keeps going. All this happens, and then you get a congratulations. You get your new game plus, and now we can move on to another route.
Okay, so in Black Eagles universe, Edelgard route, so Rhea has made it pretty abundantly clear that you're on the outs.
So we're back after we woke up from the river.
You wake up and you wash up on the side of a river, and a guy says, "Hey man, you okay?" And like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to the monastery. Hey, the Imperial Army's there. Are you an Imperial officer?" Like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I also got some people I need to meet."
Is Edelgard still alive? Yeah, I'm an Imperial officer.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, there is no reunion at dawn. The Imperial Army never abandons Garreg Mach because it's on the front lines.
Yeah, why would they?
Yeah. Edelgard is there, and she's kind of moping a little bit. And then she looks up, and she doesn't believe you're alive. And then she cries. She gets a little bit playfully angry with you for being gone for 5 years and saying, "Where have you been?" "I was asleep." "You son of a bitch, that's not an answer." I'm serious. I slept for 5 years in a healing coma because the goddess is in me or something.
By the way, that was your fault in the first place, Edelgard.
Yeah, you pissed off Rhea without telling me she was a goddamn dragon. That might have been helpful. Okay, I promise I'll tell you everything just as soon as I process this. Anyway, yeah, there's no bandits in Garreg Mach. Here is the situation. Rhea was not captured by the Imperial Army. She hit the fuck it button a lot earlier in this run. She lost her goddamn mind in the Holy Tomb. And she is now, she basically, after Garreg Mach was, her position in Garreg Mach became untenable. The Imperial Army was winning. And she retreated with the Knights of Saros intact as a military force. They're not dispersed on crusades trying to find Rhea. They're all behind Rhea.
Right.
And while they're not the best, they're not the biggest faction, but they're the best trained. They're constantly going out on weekend missions to fight bandits.
Weekends only.
Yeah. They're weekend warriors, but they're good warriors. So Knights of Saros form a separate army of their own, follow Rhea up to Ferdiad, and that is where Dimitri went as well. And Rhea basically showed up on on Dimitri's door like, "Hey, you got a couch?"
So she's shacked up with Fargus.
Yeah, she has. She showed up in Fargus, the Holy Kingdom of Fargus, and Dimitri, he's a good guy. Yeah, sure.
So Dimitri didn't go nuts?
He didn't get. He's actually pretty well put together because the Knights of Saros show up, and Holy Kingdom of Fargus. Of course, they're going to let the church in. And Rhea, being Rhea, like, I am your spiritual liege. You should probably do the things I say. So any manifestos you get from the Empire about, erasing the lines between nobility and commoners and public education, that's a lie. She's the devil. She's a communist. Okay, yeah. I trust you. And Cornelia does not rebel because the Knights of Saros are literally parked on the front lawn.
Right.
The Holy Kingdom of Fargus is literally a faction in this route, and it's a comparable one to the Empire in and of itself. So the front lines are kind of stagnated. So Garreg Mach is right there on the front lines. That's why Edelgard is hanging out there, and she's puzzling over how she's going to salvage the situation because she was hoping to get as many people on her side as possible. And she did a good job of it, but not as good as she does in other routes. Mm-hmm. Because there is another group at work here. And this is the part where Hubert shows in, like, "Oh, it's time for exposition. Roll up my sleeves." As you probably know, there's some other people hanging out with us. I have called these people those that slither. You don't see Edelgard do this. God, that's such a stupid name. But no one calls him on it. So basically, Hubert just keeps saying, "These people are those who slither." And he just keeps insisting on using that term until everyone uses it to describe them. Basically, when Sothis first came to Earth with her dragon friends.
And Hubert's explaining all this now?
Yeah. It's spelled out throughout but let's just say he feels we're filling it in now because you kind of need to make sense of the route. A long, long time ago. I'm not going to sing the song. A bunch of dragons show up in Voldland, and they live peacefully in Xanadu. But apparently there were other humans here, and the best of them followed the dragons, of course. They followed the goddess. They followed Saros. But then there were these other people, very highly technologically advanced civilization who did not follow them. And they fought a nuclear war which destroyed ILL. The Valley of Torment is the way it is because of their hyper-advanced, hyper-modern... we're going to find out exactly what they did.
ICBMs.
Literal ICBMs.
Really?
Really? Magic. Yeah. It's not magic missiles. There is a Cyrillic writing on their shit. It's the Soviet Union, basically. Anyway, don't read too much into that. It's ancient history. We're not really sure. I know they have a bunker somewhere, and they're kind of manipulating affairs in Fodlan.
So these hyper technological people became
those that slither. They use magic, but basically...
And the Red Canyon was their attack on these dragons?
Yes.
Should we say they're part in Nemesis right now?
Technically, yeah. They basically use Nemesis as a proxy.
They gave them the crest, I believe. Isn't that right?
Yes. Well... All right, Edelgard, the crest system, we're told they're gifts from the goddess, but that's not true. The crests were made by man out of the bodies and blood of slain dragons during that war. And Nemesis...
Was Saros a dragon?
Saros is a children of the goddess. She's she's a dragon, yes, but she's not... She's a children of a child of Sothis. That's why...
And Sothis was one of the dragons.
Yeah.
Not a goddess, but a dragon.
And Rhea is Saros.
Okay.
She is straight up Saros.
Okay.
So she's an immortal dragon. That's why you kind of put that together. Yeah.
And Sothis was her mother.
Yeah. Basically, Nemesis, who Rhea calls him a thief, a simple bandit who stole the goddess after this hell war with those that slither. Sothis recreated the world, saved it from destruction. And brought humans back, but that exhausted her, and she died. And she went into a holy... they interred her in the holy tomb, hoping she would be reborn. At some point, Nemesis broke into the holy tomb, stole her body, and used it to craft both the Sword of the Crater out of her spine, and using that... And with some help from those who slither, the Crest of Flames. That's how he got his crest.
Those that slither were helping Saros.
Yes. Not Saros, Nemesis.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nemesis made that sword out. Okay.
Yeah, Nemesis made this.
So each relic weapon has a stone with it too, and that's from the heart of the dragon they took the bones from.
And that's why they all look weird. They're all claws or spines or bones. And basically Nemesis goes around and to what is now Fargus, and he gathers up 10 plus 1 heroes.
So at this point, he has the Crest of Flames.
Yeah, and he says, like, hey, guys, you know those dragons that live in Xanadu? The sword's pretty cool. Do you want one? I know how to make them now.
So he went to the land that would become Fargus and got them to...
he basically got all the warlords and chieftains together of Fargus and united them into a kingdom and then attacked Xanadu, the Red Canyon. And that's why at the beginning movie, they're all kind of barbarian, dressed for cold climates. And he's this really cool northern barbarian kind of shtick. He wipes out every one of the children of Goddess that were living in Xanadu, except for Saros and a few saints. Makil, we'll meet them in Golden Deer. We meet them. You could meet them in Paralogs, but mostly with Golden Deer. There are a few saints, and they basically flee to the south, where the Eagles-Edelgard Empire has its heartland. And the leader of the biggest faction of humans there basically goes out and meets with Saros, and she breaks it down. Yeah, we're the survivors of a massacre, and we need revenge, and we need to stop this guy before he gets too powerful because he has ultra powerful weapons. So I'm going to give you crests. The crest of Saros, the crest of Endek, the crest of Sethlene, these are all crests unique to the Imperials because they're from the Saints. They don't have crest weapons, but they have the crest powers. And that's why all the crests from up north are different than the crests from down south. It all goes back to Wilhelm, the warlord who would become the first emperor of the Eagles-Edelgard Empire, meeting with Saros and saying, yeah, okay, we'll team up and we'll take this guy down. And it's with his army and her power that they take down Nemesis. But at some point, Wilhelm starts to have second thoughts about allying because he helps implement the Church of Saros. It was born in the Edrastian Empire, but he's starting to feel like he made a Faustian bargain because Rhea Saros is not human. She is immortal, very powerful, and she holds a grudge against humanity, whether she knows it or not. She doesn't trust people because she sees Nemesis behind every corner.
And so the people that slither at this point,
they are basically just living in a bunker because basically
they retreated out of Xanadu.
They were not in Xanadu. They were manipulating affairs behind the scenes for revenge against the dragons who won that war.
Who won the war and took Xanadu.
Yeah.
And Sothis, the dragon, died in Xanadu.
Sothis, I think, died in the war or after the war. She helped resurrect the world after the apocalypse.
Okay.
And Nemesis found her body and used that, and then he found fresh bodies by killing new dragons.
So when Saros in the opening movie says you'll die for that,
Yeah.
die, she means the desecration of Sothis's corpse.
That
Yeah.
and
Not
Nemesis,
killing Sothis.
yeah, not killing Sothis, but he did kill everyone else she knew. It's like he stole your
Okay.
grandma's body and beat your mother to death with her femur.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Rhea's pissed, and she's gonna stay pissed because she's immortal. She's gonna carry grudges for a long time. So Wilhelm
So this
basically,
is when they make the goddess narrative.
yeah, and Edrastian Empire basically makes a deal with all the remaining elites that followed Nemesis, and there are 10 elites plus Maurice. We'll figure that out more.
Yeah, we'll cover that
She's
later.
in Golden Deer. Anyway, basically it says, look, Nemesis is dead. I'm your emperor now. I'll let you keep your cool weapons. Saros says she's cool with that as long as you embrace this faith that we're starting.
So Nemesis followers were spared.
Yeah, and their children would grow on to have more children carrying their same crests, inherited from what Nemesis and those that slither in the dark gave them. And those are the nobles of the kingdom and the alliance. Whereas the descendants of the heroes and the heroes of the Edrastian Empire are those who got blood from the saints. Saint Cethline, Saint Keyhole, and Saros herself for the emperors.
And because these people of the north that were spared were the first to adopt this faith, that is why they formed a holy kingdom.
Yeah. And it's basically just becoming the zealotry of the converted. Meanwhile, the Edrastians, they adopted the faith. They created the faith. They're a little less fanatical about it. It's like you're a Catholic who's been a Catholic your whole life, so you
Right.
don't feel the need to perform it.
Right.
But if you convert, you're just like, there's no Latin mass here. It's basically that little dynamic going on.
Right.
But yeah, that's basically the thing. But Wilhelm's basically like, you've made a deal with Dracula. And you're like, kid, I'm about to die. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. Here's a Wikipedia version of Earth's ancient history. Keep an eye on Rhea, or whatever she's calling herself now, because every 50 years, the Archbishop is going to die, and she's going to be replaced by her identical twin. She's going to say, don't look into it. Just bear that in mind. If she starts acting funny or interfering a little too much in human affairs, be mindful of that. That's a threat.
And that's what Wilhelm...
Yeah, that's the secret imperial history known only to the heirs of the Edrastian Empire. And Wilhelm he dies way before anything else. But Emperor Ionius, Edelgard's father, tells her this when she becomes the heir apparent. He fills her in on this, and he also fills her in on those who slither in the dark. Those who slither in the dark have found a home in the Edrastian Empire because the Edrastian Empire is on the outs with the Church of Saros. 120 years before the game start, there was a southern church, and it rebelled. We don't know why. We don't know exactly what the details were. We do know that the Edrastian Empire is fiercely secular after that event. And actually, Edelgard is the first member of the imperial family to attend Garreg-Mach Monastery in several generations.
Because of that.
Pretty much, yeah. There's tension, and everyone's like, "Oh, I really hope this is the start of a reconciliation." It's not. She's there for another reason,
Right.
But Edelgard's father does meet Edelgard's mother at the Garreg-Mach Monastery. They met at the Goddess Tower, and Edelgard talks very fondly about her father. She loves her father dearly, and she loves her mother, but she kind of loses track of her after their flight to Fargus and then back in Embar, where she has her big traumatic experience.
Right, well, because her mother stayed behind.
Yeah, she was separated from her
Vargas,
mother, and she never really saw her again. Her father was the last human connection she had, and she basically just knew him as this broken man who knew that his children were killed, and he couldn't do anything to stop it. And basically, her father sat down, look, I tried to institute reforms, and the conservative nobility allied with those that slither to stop me. Those that slither want to remove Saros from power out of revenge for some millennia old grudge. And yeah, you need to keep an eye on them, but you need to keep an eye on Saros as well, because she is also interfering. Because after Leonardo lost his son because Dimitri's father, he tried to implement reforms, and the conservatives in Fargus also found reason to hate him. He wanted to raise taxes, not sirree. And of course, those that slither are with the Empire mostly because there's anti-church sentiment. But they're also in the Alliance. They're also in the Kingdom. That's why Cornelia is one of those that slither. And the tragedy at Dusker was implemented partially by those that slither, but it's important to note that those that slither, while they will manipulate, they always have to have a willing... they need someone with a legitimate beef to work with. Otherwise, they'd be powerless because they're pretty few in number. So basically, he says, look, kid, have you ever been trapped in a political discussion with two 60-year-old men, and they're throwing around names like Jane Fonda in Vietnam about something like climate change, and you're like, what's... Look, we need to do something. Can we do something about... Can we give the commoners a chance to advance? Shut up. Don't you know about Xanadu, that place we're not allowed to go? No, I don't. I don't care.
Right.
And then you talk to those that slither. Don't you know what she did to the Soviet Union? Basically, Edelgard is in the position of there are two ancient factions that are messing around with Foldland. They're keeping it in technological and cultural stasis. We can't advance. We can't reform this country. As long as Saros is in charge, she's going to filibuster any attempt for Medicare for all. As long as those that slither are hanging around, there's always just going to be bearing a grudge against humanity because they're idiots and assholes, and they cut me open and put a crest in me, and I hate them for that.
Right.
But they also control half of the Adrestian Empire's military under Arundel. So basically, Edelgard is in a situation...
So he's one of those that slither.
Yeah, Edelgard was bred to be a puppet, basically, like her father. So she talks with Hubert about all this, and basically Hubert says, don't worry, I'm a Vestra. I hate my father, but I'm still a Vestra at heart.
Right.
I'll deal with this. So while he's throughout part one, he is making alliances to build Edelgard her own separate power base. And basically her entire route is the culmination of a journey that began when she was basically 10.
Right.
Like, I need supporters loyal to me and not Arundel. I need to be able to challenge him eventually, but I also need Arundel to remove Saros.
Right.
So it's I've got one shot at this, and once I start down this path, I can't stop. So Hubert gets Count Burgley's, Casper's dad, on the side. He's the Minister of Military Affairs. It's a big win for him. And Burgley basically says, yeah, I'm down with this. I'm a noble myself, but I'm in charge because I'm the biggest ass kicker around. I don't care what Linhart's dad says about height advantage. I will support the communist revolution if it shows that being short, I will kneecap anyone who says I lost that fight. Anyway, all the nobles that are opposed to increasing taxes, implementing a universal healthcare system, that's actually kind of a thing. Ferdinand says, look, if I'm okay, look, I've come around to your way of thinking about nobles, maybe not being inherently better than everyone, but we are technically better because we have an education. So are you going to implement like a K-12 education system and a college? Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, that makes sense. So basically, that's Edelgard's goal, basically.
Right.
And so basically, she gets her own power base, goes up to her uncle Arundel and says, look, You raised me to be a weapon against Saros. I'm just a little bit more powerful than you thought I'd wind up being, what with my 2 crests. I'm sorry, you want another puppet with a crest of flames? I'm sorry, I'll kneel before you and let the guillotine happen. Just present the crest. Present your puppet, sir. I'll wait. Like, okay, we can work this out. And Byleth is just staring there, kind of like daydreaming. Like, what was that? Yeah, okay. So, okay, we're going to launch a new offensive. I have worked all night. We got all our old students together. We're gonna make a versatile vanguard unit to lead the Imperial Army on special missions. We're gonna break open the lines. The Imperial Army is gonna rush in. We're gonna break this World War I deadlock. And I have come up with the best possible name: the Black Eagle Strike Force.
Is that what they call it?
That's what Edelgard calls it. Hubert's just kind of stone-faced. Everyone else cringes.
She hits the
like Linhart
record player.
raises his hand. Can we make it the Black Eagle Strike Team so the acronym is best? And then everyone else is like, no, she's worked hard on this, guys. This is where you really figure out that Edelgard is just a dork at heart. The opening month, she's also shuttered away in her room. Like, Edelgard, did you spend up too much time with Bernadetta? What's going on? Don't come in here. Are you changing? No. I'm drawing a picture of you. I don't want you to see it. I don't want you to see it. I'm drawing fan art. I got my friend fiction over here.
Friend fiction.
Anyway, of course, you have to use maps. So Edelgard basically says, look, Claude has been standing over here not doing anything this whole time. And it's basically, you remember that episode of The Simpsons where the mob and the triads are fighting,
yeah.
And then Homer's like, Homer, we have to go inside. Then he points at like the cool little triad guy. Look at him, Marge. He hasn't done anything yet. As soon as I look away, he's gonna do something. And basically, Edelgard and Hubert are just putting their head. Look, I don't necessarily have a beef with Claude, but every memory I have of him, it involves the word scheme, backstab, and betray. As soon as we get to Ferdiad, he's going to attack Embar, and we're going to be toast. Mm-hmm. Let's just take him out of this. Look, half the Alliance responded very positively to our manifesto. Let's just take him over. And so you go to the Bridge of Murden, and your challenge there is to take out one of Claude's biggest supporters, Judith of Daphnel. And
she's at the town in the Alliance round. Yeah.
If you take her out, her lands surrender, and it's basically just you advance to the capital, and Claude is basically like, I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. Okay. And then you go and you go after him, and then right after making one step forward, like, okay, now, and then boats show up. The Elmira Navy is here under the command of General Nader. I am undefeated in 100 battles. And he's got a terrifying wyvern army. On Maddening, this mission is damn near impossible. I had to stride myself, Dorothea, who was my dancer, and Linhart, who had warp, onto the boats. In the middle, it was a full party wipe if this didn't work.
Right.
I went as far as I could on stride. Then Dorothea enchanted me with mobility again. Then Linhart managed to warp me within range, almost within range. I was so pissed because I was one tile away from Claude, and I needed to take him out in the map. And then I remembered I had the Sword of the Creator. I had a 30% chance to crit. Crit popped. Claude got taken out.
Damn it.
I fist pumped. And then Claude says, okay, I'm out. I'm done. Time out. And then like, okay, you guys win. What? Yeah, you guys win. You're not going to... You don't have any more schemes? No, I had schemes. I had scheme. Dude showed up. You win. And and then there's like a really cool scene where he and Edelgard are meeting. Okay, so you want to end the class system. You want to end racism by tearing down. You want to open up the borders and have the Almirans and the Dagdans and the Foldland people just hang out and. Did you have a plan for backlash and reactionary elements? Because I had to kill half the conservative nobility of Drestia to get public education. Dusker happened to the last guy who tried to reform the kingdom. Did you have a plan for that? I had schemes.
Schemes.
I'd poison someone. Okay, I'm gonna miss you, man. you go off. I'm gonna go become king of Elmira. That sounds like a better deal.
Yeah, he just takes a mad rip off that bong.
Yeah, he basically just says, "Look, you've seen my skin tone. You probably know who I am, and I could summon the Elmiran army for some reason." Oh, by the way, when you kill Nadir, he basically just says 101 battles undefeated because he's an orc. If you live to fight another day, you didn't lose.
Right.
Okay, Alliance has been subdued. Half the Alliance was already on your side anyway. The rest, well, Claude's gone. Guess we're with you. Things are looking up. We can finally break the deadlock with fresh supplies and fresh troops. Unfortunately, Rhea has been watching all this, and she's been rallying the population into a religious fervor. She's built herself a crusade. And it's a pretty terrifying one because Sedith and Flayn are at the head of it, and she and Catherine are leading up another flank of it, and they're marching down the mountains towards Garreg Mach. So this is where you get your defend Garreg Mach battle. And basically, Edelgard and Hubert are saying, look, they know this place a lot better than we do. They're probably going to get in unless we stop them halfway through. They're already at the gates. Well, fuck. Send the Imperial Army after Rhea, and we'll defend whatever they throw at us here. And Sedith and Flayn show up, and there's a bunch of reinforcement gimmicks. But if you defeat Sedith and Flayn with the main character, they're basically just retreat. They're allowed to live. And basically, they send a letter saying to Rhea saying, we're just going to leave. You're on your own if you want to keep doing this.
Right.
And she, of course, wants to keep doing this because she won her battle. The Imperial Army is annihilated, pretty much. Randolph shows back up, mortally wounded, and says, Edelgard, I know I'm just a member of a minor house. I really appreciate having the honor of leading your army. I'm sorry she was a dragon. And she had Thunderstrike Cassandra. It was terrifying. I didn't have a crest. The nobility system has a point. We really shouldn't have sent commoner conscripts against the Knights of Saros. Anyway, after defeating the crusade, Rhea retreats. And Edelgard says, we're going to march on Ferdiad. And everyone's cheering. Yeah, we're going to end this right now. And then Edelgard and Hubert pat you on the back, like, come over here. We're not going to Ferdiad. There's this other place called Arian Road where Cornelia hangs out. She's close with my uncle. Here's the thing. We are going to say we need Arian Road because it would defend the western border. And it's true. That's a very strategic location. But I want to show my uncle that he is not controlling me and that I can kick his ass. So we're going to ice Cornelia on the way out. You do, and Cornelia, of course, has that anime face where her mouth is just like a small circle of teeth.
Right.
And like, what are you doing here? Like, Edelgard's like, hey, you remember that whole dungeon thing? And you kill her. And then Arundel shows up with his killer stash. And he doesn't have his motorcycle. He realized that was anachronistic. He should leave that in the bunker with all these other cool stuff. And he says, so, congratulations, Edelgard. You've taken the impossible, impregnable fortress. Petra off-screen is saying, yes, we have been impregnating this.
I love Petra.
And then Arundel, so, Cornelia, very, very tragic. Yes, very unfortunate. She got caught in the fighting. This is a war. I mean, things like this happen. We didn't want it. The last thing on my mind was killing Cornelia. I swear, she just got in the way. Yes, very. It's a shame. And he walks away, and then off screen there is ICBM attack, or Arian Road is destroyed, and Hubert says, "Yeah, apparently that's just his way of showing that he's still in charge. We'll deal with him, but right now Ray is right there. It makes no sense for us to go. I'll figure out where he is. I can triangulate this ICBM using trigonometry." But you advance towards Ferdiad, and this is where Dimitri has his strategizing moment with Rhea. And he says, look, Ferdiad, if they surround it, they'll starve us out. We're going to fight them on the Tailteen Plains for symbolism, because that's where Nemesis was defeated. And basically, the Knights of Saros and the Kingdom troops advance in 2 columns, but they get bogged down in the rain. Yeah, so Edelgard's forces show up. Dmitri shows up with all of with all the people who remain loyal to him, along with the Dew, of course. It's raining. There's really big, pumped up music, and Rhea is coming. So there's a time thing going on. We need to get to Dmitri fast to wrap up one front in this battle before the other one shows up. And there's another reason to hurry on this map, because the Dew says, "I will do everything to assure your victory, your highness." And as soon as you cross a ford under fire from archers, Kingdom troops start turning into demonic beasts. And this is something important. When you join Edelgard, she gains the confidence to tell her uncle she doesn't need these things. She doesn't want to use them.
Which is funny because she uses them the whole way if you side with anyone else.
She's desperate at that point.
Right.
So she needs to use them. But Dmitri is not on board with this. Dedu, what the fuck?
Oh, wow.
He's like, Dedu, what have you done? I am doing everything I can to ensure victory.
Oh.
So one by one, you'll be coming up against a sword master and he'll turn into a demon. And it's actually really terrifying because when you get to Dedu, if you don't get to Dedu fast enough, he'll start growling and then he'll become a unique model demon that is very strong. And Dmitri is really sad at this because you have to, and then you fight your way.
Would you say he's gone mad?
He's sad more than anything. He's a lot more mentally well-adjusted because he has attached all of his decision-making to Rhea.
Oh.
It's unhealthy, but at the same time, it's a coping mechanism.
Right.
So you kill Dedu, and then you fight your way to Dmitri, and he and Edelgard have a moment where they basically just redress that there's no other. It has to be this way.
Don't want to kill you. Yeah.
Yeah, and once Dmitri is dead, Rhea
he's
will.
Dead.
Once you kill Dmitri in the fight, Rhea will show up. Well, technically, she'll show up even if you take too long. But on my run, I killed Dmitri. Rhea immediately shows up, and it's like, late on this day of all days. Dmitri is dead. Dmitri is dead. You're Sarah, Lady Saros. It doesn't matter. I'll kill him myself. Hi. Yeah, we lost power. I'm sorry. We live in Indiana, southern Indiana. Got to rely on coal, and well, it's just not the most reliable of fuel sometimes. Doesn't keep the lights on.
There's, we suffer an increased cancer rate. We're in the sacrifice zone.
Yeah.
And, but the real tragedy is that our dear listeners have to deal with things like this because of coal power.
We're deferring opportunities for new industries and technologies.
Please visit www.coalcaneatshit.com and join the fight now.
God damn it, Adam, you're going to have to make that website. Okay.
Go register.
Anyway, we're not just talking about one ancient thing that will not die and just keep dragging the world with it. There's another ancient thing, Rhea, Saros, whatever other name she's had. She is crossing this ford to eat your heart, literally, to get her mom back because
she's the Dmitri in this run, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her voice actress does a very good job.
Not as cool as Dmitri though, because Dmitri does have an eye patch. Have an eye patch.
Rhea, she's crossing the. So for me, Rhea was crossing the ford, and it was terrifying because she has. Counterattack wherever. If you hit her with a bow from miles away, she'll counterattack. She is a god in human form in this case. She's not a dragon yet, but she's gonna be. I managed to get a lucky crit with Edelgard, and it was really cool because the dialogue really goes into what Rhea sees in the main character and Edelgard. She says, "You, a scion of Hresvelg," because that was her first human partner. She just took for granted that the Wilhelm line would always be loyal to her and would never have issues with the way she ran Voldland. Because she can say that the Kingdom and Alliance and Adrestian Empire have their agency, and they do, but she's always there, and she is the leader of the church. And there are a lot of conservative people that she has a direct Rush Limbaugh line to. Mm-hmm. And Edelgard just spits back at her like, you're not my god. I never believed in you. I am a human, and I'm going to carve my own path. And with you, you are a child that she cultivated for a very specific purpose. She's basically like...
Now, have you learned the truth about you? The whole truth?
Edelgard, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Good, thank you. Edelgard will take you aside and says, we need to talk about the truth of what you are, at least as much as I've been able to figure out. Because she's kind of like Claude. She's been doing research on you because she doesn't...
Claude will do the same thing in Golden Deer, will he not?
She's not as successful because she can't just go up and ask Rhea for obvious reasons, because she sees Rhea as a thing that's holding all... the source of all the Volden's problems is not just those that slither, but Rhea.
Whereas Claude can ask
Yeah.
her. Okay.
But basically she says, I think your mom had some connection to Rhea. I'm not sure exactly how, but there is a crest stone in your heart. The crest of flames was put into you for some reason, I think, to resurrect Sothis. So when I saw you with green hair, I thought when you got on that throne, you were just going to be everything she wanted you to be. I didn't think for a second you'd actually follow me.
Which is why which is why in every run it was so imperative that she stop you from sitting on that throne.
Yeah, and
because that's the cultivation of...
Yeah, you would lose yourself and become Sothis.
in fact, isn't that chapter called The Ritual of Resurrection?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And so that crest stone is the stone that's supposed to be in the Sword of the Creator.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the reason it's not in the Sword of the Creator is because it's in you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the stone. And the crest of flames has something to do with Sothis?
Yes. When Nemesis took her body, he used that to create the crest of flames.
Because the crest came from taking stuff out of the dragon's body.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And basically, Edelgard says, "Look, I'm just really glad that you chose me." And Rhea is basically the concert pianist who is too old to play the piano, but has a daughter and wants her to play the piano, but she's a trombone girl. I have no daughter.
So your connection to Rhea, we don't know for sure what Rhea's connection to your mother is.
Not really.
But
not in this room.
Your direct connection to Rhea, why you're so important to her?
You were supposed to be
You're
something.
going to bring her mom back.
You were going to be something, and you wound up being something else. It's like a boomer finding out that their daughter took a gender studies in college and is now having second thoughts about her religion.
And so this isn't she's tried this before.
Yes. That is heavily implied by her. You are just another failure. And we'll actually get into more of that in Golden Deer and Church.
Okay. So,
but anyway, Rhea is defeated, and she says, I'll be back. I will take your heart back. And she retreats to Ferdiad. And there is no monastery segment. It makes no sense. You're on the doorstep of Ferdiad. You're not going to waste another month having lunch. Edelgard and Hubert and you basically just talk. Look, I know it's hard to work with those that slither. No one hates them more than me. They did this to me. But my beef with them is personal. Saros is more important. Voldlin is more important than my revenge. We're going to go into Ferdiad, and we're going to demand their surrender. We're going to remove Rhea, and we're going to build something, but we have to make this worth it. All of this worth it.
So at this point, Saros is queen of Fargus. It's just 100% hers.
Basically, you show up at the gates of Ferdiad, and you call out to Saros. And basically, Edelgard is putting out a plea to anyone in the city to surrender. Like, what is the point of fighting for a kingdom without a king, is what she says. Dimitri actually has a really sad ending dialogue with Dedu if you manage to kill Dedu before he transforms. I can't remember exactly what it says, but basically it's just Dedu, don't worry about me dying. Living with you was enough. And that's really good, but I missed it because I can never kill him before he transforms.
Right.
But anyway... Catherine and Cyril are at either side of Saros, and she is in full Saros mode. Catherine says, Lady Rhea, what are we going to do? Should we retreat? We could totally retreat. Actually, that's probably a good idea. We can go to Elmira and convert them and retake Voldlin. But Saros is not having any solid advice mode. She is like, no, we will not lose. And then Catherine is immediately put back in her place. Yes, I'm your gal. I'll do anything you say. Anything. And then Edelgard says, please just surrender. There's no point to this. There's no point dragging this out. Just step down from your immortal archbishopric.
Sounds like you're trying to dragon things out. Then Hubert's like,
That's funny. Everyone laugh. Everyone laugh.
I didn't get a harumph out of this guy.
Anyway, Saros has a plan. Catherine, burn the city to the ground. Catherine is like, what? No, Lady Saros, Saros, Reyes.
Everybody loves Raymond.
There's people. There's like this is like the capital city of a kingdom. There's a lot of people here who are flammable. That's the point. They'll burn hot. The Imperials will storm in to try to save them, and they'll burn too. It's strategically perfect. And then Cyril is like, Lady Rhea. And Catherine's like, well, I can't argue with that logic. and then Saros turns into a dragon, and there's this terrible roar, but it's just a pop-up image of a dragon. Roar, scary dragon, because budget. Right. And you see Edelgard looking off into the sky, and you see like the flames reflecting off the skies. A guard comes up. Yeah, city's on fire. We don't know why. God damn it, Rhea. Now I have to attack because she can't just drag out a siege. You need to take over the city to put out the fire.
Right.
And the maps basically, the whole city's on fire, so you can't move very fast, and you have to move down narrow alleyways. It's a nightmare on Maddening because you have to secure a beachhead against the Knights of Saros, who are still fanatically devoted to Rhea. Gilbert's there. I think Annette is there. If you don't recruit her, I recruited her, but there's also a placeholder. He's an archer, so I think Ash is there.
Yeah.
So you fight your way through the city, and the best way to... And Rhea is right at the center of it all, lording it over from the palace, and she's in full dragon form. On Maddening, I wound up having to just carve a path and pray to God that the fire slows down Catherine and Cyril enough that I don't have to deal with them. Cyril manages to get free of his little snag because he's a wyvern lord, and he's terrifying. He hits 4 times on Maddening with a brave axe, and he will one-hit kill anyone.
Yeah.
So I basically had to pray to the gods for Bernadetta to pull off a clutch kill, and she does. And I managed to break one part of her shield wall and get the main character and Rhea on either side of it. Rhea has a really cool special ability with her axe. And it's worth...
Edelgard?
Yeah, Edelgard, sorry. Edelgard has a really cool axe. She's an axe girl, but she's an Imperial. She doesn't have relic weapons. So basically, her axe is made of another material, and it was specifically crafted to fight Rhea. It's pretty cool. Because Claude has something that he inherited from his dragon-killing ancestor, Dimitri the same. Edelgard basically grabbed as much magic rock as she could find, plopped it on a blacksmith's table. Make me something that can kick all the ass in the world. and he succeeds. As long as she gets a hit with the axe, she can take another hit and move. If you cast Stride on her, she can ping-pong her way across a map, killing people.
That's sick.
Until the axe breaks. So she gets basically 5 good hits with the special ability. And she gets enough crits to take Rhea almost down, and then I finish her off with the main character, and it cuts to the only unique cutscene for the Edelgard route. And it is the city...
It anime?
Yes, it is a full anime. And it's actually worth looking up. It's really good because it's got unique music, and it's Edelgard is screaming at the heavens in anger, and the main character and Edelgard are bruised, they're tired, they're hot, they've got ash on their face, and they're just breathing heavily, and it really feels right because if I had not taken Rhea down, I was going to lose everyone. It was a really tough fight, so it really feels like the cutscene is flowing naturally from gameplay to cutscene. And Rhea rears her head down, looks directly at Byleth, and says, "Give it back!" And then Edelgard chimes in for you. When humanity stands strong and people look out for each other, there's no need for gods. Your reign of tyranny ends here. And then she looks at you, you look at her, and you nod at each other, and then you do that anime thing right as the orchestra starts building up. You jump higher than any human possibly could. Edelgard has an armored skirt that's fluttering in the wind. You both bring down an attack on the dragon's head. She gets knocked back on her back, and she dies. And Edelgard's like, is it over? And then the main character clutches his chest and falls to the ground. Edelgard rushes over, tries to hear a heartbeat. She doesn't know you don't have a heartbeat. And she thinks you're dead. She starts weeping openly. And then it cuts to your heart. You see this crest stone inside your heart. And it disappears in radiant light. Your heart starts beating for the first time in your life. And your hair goes back to your birth color. And she hears your heartbeat. She hears you take a breath. And she's weeping in happiness now. Your eye color is back to the way you were. You're just your own person for the first time.
It's very poetic.
Yeah.
That ending of that run. That's very poetic.
And then it cuts to her mural where it's Empress Edelgard, and she is looking at a guy holding a dagger behind his back. She's like, I see you over there, those that slither. And
so you don't resolve those that slither.
You do, but it's in the cuts. It's in it's resolved in the backstory of what happens after the postscript. The narrator says, Edelgard reigned over a united Fodlan, completely revolutionized society. Everyone had access to education. Anyone could rise as far as they wanted to. Everyone would be taken care of. There'd be no distinction between commoners and nobles. And then came Hubert's shadow war against those that slither. And basically, if you want to think about this, the best way to think about it would probably be Hubert figuring out where those that slither hang out, backing up his Ford F-150 to their ventilation shaft and just gassing them all. And then, the rest of it is just that one scene from The Godfather. Dorothea starts singing an opera, and then, oh, no, no. And then there's a bunch of guys with Tommy guns just icing random people. Arundel's at, a toll booth, and he gets gunned down. That's how those that slither are resolved in this. It's all postscript.
So what I still don't understand is what the Crest of Flames has. No, never mind. I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
But this is unique among all roots, though. If you marry Edelgard, it actually kind of makes a lot of sense because she is obsessed with you, and she's the only real character other than any, maybe Dimitri or Claude, that really feel like they have a deep connection. You marry her, and she basically just stays around for the war with those that slither, and then she hands it off to someone. In my case, it's most likely the gay marriage of Ferdinand and Hubert, who are the right and left hands, talking about the need for security and the need to improve the lives of commoners. But But even if you don't marry Edelgard, she just resigns from the emperorship and lives out the last few years of her life in peace. She basically just goes off and fishes with you. That's
cool.
This is the only ending where you don't become Super Pope, God Emperor of Fodlan. You're just some hero who does the Mad Max thing where you just blend into the crowd and live a human life for once in your life.
So you're not immortal in that one?
No. And that one...
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Yeah. Interesting thing, you can marry Sothis. She says, I'm part of your soul. That crest stone was more of a decoration than anything. So that's basically the confirmation that Sothis is still there, even though the crest is gone.
Okay.
And she says, yeah, we'll be together forever because we're part of each other's souls. Even after you die, we'll still be together. And that is the Black Eagles run.
A crazy ending.
Yeah.
That's a crazy ending. That's actually pretty cool.
I know that I know it's interesting that Edelgard doesn't directly face those that slither, but to be frank, those that slither kind of distract from the overall narrative.
Right. Yeah. Her goal, it has, like she said, it's personal with them. It's got nothing to do with her goal. And that's kind of her whole character.
Yeah, because
it's all about the goal.
She has one life to live and one chance to actually make reform possible because she is of the... You see this in leftist circles a lot. Is it okay to work within the system, or will it all be turned back immediately once the conservatives get their way?
Right.
Because she saw that happen with her father. He tried to reform, and he was rendered powerless, and his children were literally harvested for science.
Right.
Dimitri's dad tried it, and he got iced, and then the church covered it up and used it for their purposes. Those that slither used it for their purposes. it's never going to end as long as these ancient powers are still fighting over Jane Fonda.
Right.
Boomers need to let us have a world for millennials. A world for humanity is actually the ending song of it, and the credits song, Edge of Dawn. You know that reach for my hand, I'll fly away, and I hide behind this mask that I have become, this blackened heart burned by flames. And it's the Japanese version of that song is Lady of Hresvelg. So it's if there was any we were talking about it could be Rhea, it could also be Edelgard because frankly they both suffered trauma and they both kind of are influenced by it. That's true of all characters really, but basically that song is basically Edelgard's perspective about trying to reach out for someone and knowing that she's probably going to have to walk the path alone.
Right.
Because in all roots but that one she does, and in all roots but that one that song plays in the credits, but it doesn't play in her route. A piano version, a happy chipper piano version of that tune plays The Color of Sunrise because she no longer fears the dawn.
It's very poetic. That's very poetic. That's looking at the time, this is like a 2-hour podcast. We might have to Golden Deer it on part 3.
It's worth it.
It'd be poetic.
It's the longest. Sure. It's a longer route.
Yeah.
It's got a lot more to talk about, and it's funny.
It'd be poetic to have 3
we
parts,
can go through all the supports and all that stuff, background stuff.
Yeah, we can do that.
This is part 2 of 3 houses.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yep. Thank you very much.